Hi everyone, welcome to another video. This is Mr. Chow from EnglishTuition.org. I haven't been doing a video in a while, so I thought it's timely to do a video about English oral again. So 2002 English oral final revision tips. I believe some of my students are going to take their English oral for sometime this week, right? And that's for N levels and for O levels as well. PSLE English oral will take place next month. So hopefully this video comes in a timely manner for those of you who may be nervous about the English oral. Hopefully this video can help to calm some nerves. All right, so let's get started. So the very first tip I have for the students, for all of you, is just make sure you make full use of the preparation time. And preparation time for PSLE is 5 minutes and 10 minutes for O levels and N levels. So some of you may not have thought about how to make full use of the preparation time, right? So you end up daydreaming or you get distracted, all right? You just, you don't know what to do. You just keep reading the same text over and over again. And then you watch the video a few times and you thought that you are actually prepared, right? But I'll go into more detail later what you can do during the preparation time, all right? So first thing you can do is to read the difficult phrases multiple times, right? This to prevent you from tripping up on some of the more difficult words, especially the longer words that contain multiple syllables. And sometimes when they come in a full expression, right, and you combine multiple words together, and multiple lengthy words together, right, they become a mouthful, and then students tend to trip over these phrases, right? And then if they do that too often, then the reading become hesitant, and this will affect your grade. Okay, so during the prep time, just read around a few more times. Okay, if you can, try to read under your breath, right? And actually read aloud, but very softly, so that only you yourself can hear. Okay, and it's also a good way to warm up, okay, and also forget about your nervousness, right? Okay. Now, when you're watching the video or you are looking at a photo, make sure you observe the details that are in the visuals, right? And because you're going to be referring to them while you are having the spoken interaction, right? So for photos, right, I believe PSLE should still be using photos, right? For photos, the primary 6 kids, while you're having the spoken interaction, you still have, you still can have the photo in front of you, right? So that's not a big issue. But then sometimes students still forget to refer to the details. Always try to use the photograph to help you with the spoken interaction, especially for question 1. All right, don't straight away dive into the content, right? And then just give all your ammunition away. Okay, and then when it comes to the next prompt, the third prompt, and then you have nothing to say. Okay. Now for N levels, O levels, you are allowed to watch the video one more time before they actually start the spoken interaction. Okay. So, but while you're having the conversation with the examiner, the downside is that you no longer can look at the video anymore. So that means you have to commit some of the details to your memory, okay, in order to support your conversation, right? But if you spend some time memorizing the details, you have 10 minutes is more than enough time, right, for you to memorize the details and observe what's happening. Details means every little piece of information, every little thing that is in the video, it matters. All right, it can help you arrive at a very different conclusion, right, if you really pay attention to the details. Okay, so with that, let's move on to the next tip. So how do you score for the reading passage, right? The reading passage is the first activity, right? It comes first, then we move on to the spoken interaction. So we want to be able to do well for the first section, and that will give us more confidence going into the conversation. Okay, so first tip I have for you, don't just pronounce the words, try to read with emotion, right? A lot of times when I practice my students, they read kind of flat, right, as if they're just struggling to pronounce the words, and they read without meaning, right? They read as if they don't understand what is happening in the passage, in the text. So in order for you to stand out, okay, read with meaning, read with emotion. Okay, if possible, practice with somebody, right? See if they can detect the change in your tone of voice, right? The volume and your pitch, right? Do you vary them according to the context that has been given in the reading passage? Okay, if you're just reading, flat all the way, then you are just like a reporter, like a robot. Okay, and sometimes it's just not ideal, right, depending on the text. Also, make sure that you have clear pronunciation and pronounce all the end sounds properly. Now, a lot of students, when they practice, well, even after multiple practices, they just don't bother, okay, to pronounce the words carefully, right? And then the end sounds all disappear. When there's T, they don't read T. When there's K, they don't read K. And when there's an S, they don't read an S, right? So they just gloss over all the small, minor sounds, and this can make a difference between an A and a B, right? So A students obviously, they have better pronunciation, right? And examiner can hear them very clearly. All the sounds are pronounced, right? They don't skip over sounds. They don't just gloss over and pretend that they don't exist. Okay, and it requires some effort from the student's part. Control your breathing, right? And decide when to pause during the preparation phase, right? So this is another thing during the preparation. As you're doing the reading, you can decide, right? Is there any punctuation there? All right, should I pause? Should I not pause? Should I just read the whole phrase in one breath? Okay, so as you're reading, the breath is controlled, right? But if you don't control your breathing, right, so you end up pausing at the wrong parts of the text, okay, or you're just breaking up all the phrases, all the expressions, and the entire reading will sound very hesitant, right? So very choppy. Okay, so that's not a good way to read. Okay, above all, don't mumble, right? Is it possible to fail the reading passage? The answer is of course yes, right? If you mumble and nobody can hear the words, right, your pronunciation is not accurate, right, and nobody can hear all those sounds, and I think the exam is conducted, where under conditions where the students are need to wear the mask, right? And so the students, for those who don't have a loud booming voice, a clear voice, right, especially the girls, right, try to speak up, right? Don't have to shout, right? But most importantly, don't mumble, right? If you mumble, then people cannot hear you clearly, and it is possible to fail, right, the reading passage. But I don't expect anybody to fail, because as long as you show that you know how to read, you can read, okay, it's unlikely that the examiner will fail you. But if you want a better grade, you want a higher score, then you have to put in the effort, right? So how is your reading different from all the other people? Think about it, all right? And the third and final tip I have for you, right, is about the spoken interaction, right? Some students are actually fearful, okay, about the conversation because they're very afraid of the questions, okay? But if you have been practicing daily, right, using language, responding well to questions, then you have nothing to worry about. The way I teach my students is, I tell them to not just depend on my lessons, right? Because 2 hours a week, it cannot be a magic pill, right? It will not turn you into an eloquent speaker if you do not use the language, right? You don't use it at home, you don't use it in school, you don't have conversations in English. It's very difficult for you to improve overnight, right? But if you have, if you heed my advice, right, just go back, every opportunity that comes out, right? Sometimes you converse in English, sometimes you converse in Mandarin, right, in Chinese. Okay, sometimes like in your second language, right, you need to practice that as well. So a lot of students, they just have, either they don't have conversations at home, right, or with their friends, or they mix it up with like broken English, even Singlish, and or sometimes they speak dialect at home, so they don't get to practice, and as a result, they don't feel confident about using the language, and that is one of the reasons why they don't do well for the oral conversation. Okay. Well, many students are of the thinking that well, it's oral, we just go and talk, right? So what is there to revise, right? So I think that is a mistake, because there is some revision involved, all right? And for my own students, we do our own revision. We have one set of common topics, right? And we go through all the common topics, okay, and make sure that they're familiar with all the common points, right? So if this topic comes up, right, what are the questions, right, that they may have to handle, right? And if they encounter those questions, what are the points that they raise, okay? And when they raise the points, what are some of the arguments, and also what are some of the better examples, right, that they can give. So we revise, right? And even now we're at the tail end, right? Just right before the oral examination, sometimes students still forget, okay, about the content, about the examples, right? You may ask them, what type of exercises can the elderly do to improve their physical health, right? And they just thinking, well, they can walk around, right? They can walk around, but that's not very good example, right? Right, then so we revise all these examples during the lessons to help them better prepare. So if they encounter certain topics, then it's very likely that they know what to talk about because we've done it before. Okay, so you should also revise, right? Gather your school notes if you don't attend any tuition, right? Gather your school notes, go and come up with your own sets of oral topics, go and practice the 10-year series, right? The past year topics. Now, finally, if you're surprised by an unfamiliar question, especially for O-levels, N-levels, the third prompt, okay, may take you completely by surprise, okay? So if that happens, please don't panic, stay calm, and try to think on your feet, right? So if you're calm, usually ideas will come to you. If you panic, what happened? All your ideas run away, right? Okay, no blood goes to your head, okay, and you can't think, okay, and you keep quiet, you and then you fail to answer the question, okay? So if you never give a response to the question or relevant response to the question, then you're not going to do well for the oral. So bear in mind, right, oral plus listening comprehension together, they have about 1/3, right? Not exactly 1/3, but close to 1/3 of the total weightage of the entire examination, okay? So the syllabus can be broken down into 3 parts, okay? You have oral plus LC, which is around 1/3, and then you have paper 1, which is another 1/3, and then you have paper 2, which is the final 1/3, right? So for students who are very strong in writing but weak in oral, right? So oral can actually bring pull down the overall grade, okay? So for those students who are aiming to get a strong BA and above, okay, you cannot neglect oral. You cannot take it too lightly, right? You should spend more time doing your daily practices and more time preparing the contents for the oral, okay? And make sure that you're able to come up with good points. Use the best language as you go about answering the questions. All right, with that, above all, right, most important, all right, don't keep quiet, okay? If you encounter unfamiliar question, don't just sit there. No matter what, try to come up with something, right? Just start, just say something, right? You never know what what your sentence may lead to, right? The first sentence may lead you on to the next and the next and the next, and then you're on the roll, right? But if you keep quiet, it's immediate failure, right? The examiner have got no reason to award you any marks, okay? Immediate failure. Don't keep quiet. It's possible to fail the oral exam. Okay, so with that, we come to the end of the video, right? So I hope some of these final tips are able to help you along, okay, for the oral exercise, for the oral exam, in fact, okay? So with that, I wish you the best of luck, okay? So we're coming to the tail end of the year. Very quickly, we are moving into quarter 4, and then in September, we will have the N-levels, and then in September, we have N-levels and PSLE, right? And then in October, we have O-levels, right? And that's for the national exams. And that's the end of 2002, right? So for those of you who are still keen to sign up for lessons, for English lessons, do visit my website, okay? Go and click around, okay, for more information about my teaching methods and my teaching style, and know what are the available time slots, and plan ahead, right? So if most likely you're planning for next year, for next academic year, okay, then when you come for lessons, you'll go through all the good stuff, right, to prepare you for the national exams. All right, with that, if you enjoyed this video, do remember to leave a like and a subscribe, and I hope to see you soon in the next video. Bye bye.